Brisbane isn't just sunshine and river views, it's also home to some of Australia's most haunted places. From abandoned asylums to cursed cemeteries, these locations are so terrifying that even locals avoid them after dark. Are these ghost stories just urban legends, or is there something darker lurking in Brisbane's past? Grab your flashlight and brace yourself, we're counting down the top 10 haunted places in Brisbane that will chill you to the bone. Stick around till the end, because number 7 might just make you sleep with the lights on. Help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. If you love exploring the paranormal, hit that subscribe button, it's free, and it keeps the scares coming. 1. Bago Road Jail. Bago Road Jail, officially known as the Brisbane Prison, is one of the most haunted places in Brisbane, with a dark history that has left behind restless spirits. The prison operated for over a century, from 1883 to 1989, and was known for its harsh conditions, violent inmates, and numerous executions. Many prisoners died within its walls, either from disease, suicide, or murder, and their tormented souls are said to linger even today. One of the most famous ghosts is Ernest Austin, the last man to be executed in Queensland. He was hanged in 1913 for the brutal murder of an 11-year-old girl. Visitors and staff have reported hearing phantom footsteps, eerie whispers, and even seeing a shadowy figure near the old gallows. Some claim to feel a sudden drop in temperature or an unseen force pushing them, as if Austin's spirit is still trapped there. Another well-known ghost is George, the smiling killer, Taylor, a prisoner who was murdered in his cell. His ghost has been seen walking the corridors, sometimes with a sinister grin, just like when he was alive. The prison's Division 2, where the most dangerous criminals were kept, is a hotspot for paranormal activity. People have reported hearing screams, banging on cell doors, and even seeing full-bodied apparitions of inmates. Some visitors have captured strange orbs and ghostly faces in photographs. Nighttime tours often reveal unexplained noises, such as keys jingling or distant cries, as if the prison is still functioning in the afterlife. Even former guards have shared chilling stories. One reported seeing a ghostly figure standing in an empty cell, only for it to vanish seconds later. Others have felt cold spots and sudden gusts of wind in closed-off areas. Psychics and paranormal investigators who have visited Bago Road Jail often describe an overwhelming sense of sadness and anger, as if the spirits are still suffering. Today, the prison operates as a historical site and ghost tour attraction, but the hauntings remain as strong as ever. Whether it's the ghost of an executed criminal, a murdered inmate, or just the echoes of past suffering, Bago Road Jail is a place where the dead refuse to rest. Those who visit often leave with more than just a history lesson, they leave with a real ghost story of their own. 2 Toowong Cemetery. Toowong Cemetery, the largest and oldest cemetery in Queensland, is a place where the line between the living and the dead feels unnervingly thin. Established in 1875, this sprawling graveyard holds thousands of graves, including those of prominent politicians, war veterans, and tragic figures whose lives ended in sorrow. With its overgrown pathways, crumbling headstones, and eerie silence, it's no surprise that locals avoid it after dark, especially when so many have reported spine-chilling encounters with the supernatural. One of the most famous ghosts is the Lady in White, a spectral woman often seen wandering near the graves, dressed in an old-fashioned gown. Witnesses say she appears suddenly, her face pale and sorrowful, before vanishing into thin air. Some believe she is the spirit of a grieving mother who lost her child, forever searching the cemetery in despair. Others claim to hear faint crying or feel an icy presence near certain graves, as if the dead are mourning their own fate. Another well-known spirit is that of William Dart, a stonemason who worked at the cemetery in the late 1800s. After his sudden death, his ghost has been spotted near the old stonemason's workshop, still carrying tools as if continuing his work in the afterlife. Visitors have reported hearing hammering sounds or seeing shadowy figures moving among the tombstones, even when no one else is around. The cemetery's baby graves section is particularly unsettling. Many infants and young children were buried here during disease outbreaks, and some visitors claim to hear the sound of children giggling or crying when no living child is present. Others have seen small, ghostly figures darting between the graves, only for them to disappear when approached. Paranormal investigators have recorded strange electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, in this area, whispers that seem to respond to questions, as if the spirits are trying to communicate. Even skeptics have left Tu Wong Cemetery feeling uneasy. Some report sudden dizziness, unexplained scratches, or the sensation of being watched. Dogs often refuse to enter certain areas, barking at unseen figures. Photographs taken here sometimes reveal misty shapes, strange lights, or faces peering from behind tombstones, images that weren't visible when the photo was taken. Despite its peaceful appearance by day, Tu Wong Cemetery takes on a different energy at night. The air grows heavier, shadows move unnaturally, and the feeling of unseen eyes watching becomes impossible to ignore. Whether it's the lady in white, the ghostly stonemason, or the lost souls of children, something lingers in this graveyard, something that doesn't want to be forgotten. For those brave enough to visit after sunset, the cemetery doesn't just tell stories of the dead, it shows them. 3. The Princess Theatre, Woolloongabba. The Princess Theatre in Woolloongabba is one of Brisbane's most beautiful historic buildings, but behind its grand facade lies a darker history filled with ghostly encounters. Built in 1888 as a live performance venue, the theatre has seen its share of tragedy over the decades, accidents, sudden deaths, and emotional turmoil, all of which seem to have left an imprint on the building. Staff, performers, and visitors have reported strange occurrences that suggest the theatre is home to more than just memories. The most famous ghost is said to be a former actress who performed at the theatre in the early 1900s. According to legend, she died tragically either by suicide or an accident during a performance, though records are unclear. Her spirit, often referred to as the Blue Lady, has been seen in the upper levels of the theatre, dressed in an old-fashioned blue gown. Performers have reported catching glimpses of her watching from the wings, only for her to vanish when approached. Others have felt an unseen presence standing close behind them or heard soft, disembodied whispers when no one else is around. Some even claim to smell a faint floral perfume, an old-world scent that lingers for a moment before disappearing. Another hotspot for paranormal activity is the theater's dressing rooms, where actors have reported objects moving on their own, lights flickering without explanation, and sudden cold drafts in closed spaces. One performer claimed their makeup was rearranged while they stepped away, with lipstick messages appearing on the mirror. Messages that no living person could have written. Others have heard phantom applause or music playing from the empty stage late at night, as if a performance is still being held for an unseen audience. Even skeptical visitors have left the Princess Theatre with unsettling stories. Some have captured strange shadows or misty figures in photographs, while others have felt an inexplicable sense of dread in certain areas of the building. Paranormal investigators who have visited the theatre have recorded electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, unexplained voices responding to questions in empty rooms. Despite its haunted reputation, the Princess Theatre remains a beloved cultural landmark. But those who work late or wander its halls alone often say they don't feel entirely alone. Whether it's the Blue Lady keeping watch over performances or the echoes of past artists still clinging to the stage, the theatre's ghosts seem determined to remain part of the show. For those who listen closely, the walls of the Princess Theatre don't just hold history, they whisper it. For St. Helena Island. St. Helena Island, just off the coast of Brisbane, looks like a peaceful paradise with its lush greenery and ocean views. But beneath its natural beauty lies a dark past that has left the island haunted by restless spirits. In the late 1800s, it was home to one of Queensland's most notorious prisons, where hardened criminals endured brutal conditions. Many prisoners died there from disease, harsh punishments, or violence, and their tormented souls are said to still wander the ruins today. The most common ghostly encounters happen near the old prison buildings, especially the prisoners' barracks, where inmates were crammed into small, damp cells. Visitors have reported hearing moans, coughs, and whispers coming from empty rooms, as if the sick and dying are still suffering. Some have seen shadowy figures pacing the corridors or standing at cell doorways, only to disappear when approached. Others feel sudden chills or the sensation of being watched, even when completely alone. One particularly eerie story involves the ghost of a prisoner who was beaten to death by guards. His anguished cries have been heard near the old punishment cells, especially at night. The island cemetery is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Over 50 prisoners were buried there in unmarked graves, and visitors often feel an overwhelming sense of sadness when walking through the area. Some have reported seeing faint figures kneeling near graves or hearing muffled sobs in the wind. Others claim their equipment malfunctions near the cemetery, with cameras failing or audio recorders picking up strange, garbled voices. Even the old hospital ruins are said to be haunted. Prisoners who died from disease or injury were treated here, and many never left alive. Tour guides and visitors have reported seeing ghostly figures in old-fashioned prison uniforms lying on the floor or sitting against walls, as if waiting for medical help that never came. Some have smelled the faint odor of antiseptic and sickness, despite the building being abandoned for over a century. Fishermen and boaters who camp overnight on the island tell their own chilling stories, voices calling their names from the darkness, campfires mysteriously going out, and the sound of dragging chains coming from the bush. Even park rangers admit there are areas of the island they avoid after sunset, as the energy becomes too unsettling. Today, St. Helena Island is a popular tourist spot by day, but as the sun sets, the atmosphere changes. The wind carries whispers of the past, shadows move where no one stands, and the feeling of being watched becomes impossible to ignore. Whether it's the ghosts of prisoners seeking justice or simply echoes of their suffering, the island's dark history refuses to stay buried. Those who visit after dark often leave with one certainty: they weren't the only ones walking the ruins that night. 5. The Wickham Hotel, Fortitude Valley. The Wickham Hotel in Fortitude Valley has been a Brisbane landmark since 1885, serving drinks to generations of locals. But behind its cheerful pub atmosphere lies a darker history that has left the building haunted by spirits who refuse to leave. Over the years, staff and patrons have reported strange encounters that suggest not all the Wickham's guests are among the living. The most famous ghost is said to be a former barmaid named Rosie, who worked at the hotel in the early 1900s. According to local legend, Rosie died tragically in the building, some say by suicide, others claim it was murder, and her spirit has remained ever since. Staff working late have reported seeing a woman in old-fashioned clothing standing behind the bar when no one else is there, while others have heard the distinct sound of a woman crying coming from empty rooms upstairs. The hotel's upper floors, which were once used as accommodation, seem to be particularly active. Guests staying overnight have reported waking up to find the figure of a woman standing at the foot of their bed, only for her to vanish when they turn on the lights. Others have felt someone sit on the edge of their bed or heard knocking on their door in the middle of the night, with no one outside when they check. Housekeeping staff tell stories of rooms that feel unnaturally cold, glasses that move on their own, and the strong smell of roses that appears suddenly with no logical source. The hotel's basement is another hotspot for paranormal activity, with many people refusing to go down there alone after dark. Workers have reported tools going missing and reappearing in strange places, shadowy figures darting between the wine racks, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched. Even skeptical patrons have left the Wickham Hotel with strange stories. Some have captured ghostly figures in the background of their photos, while others have experienced sudden drops in temperature in certain areas of the pub. Regulars swear they've seen beer taps turn on by themselves, and there are multiple accounts of chairs moving across the floor when no one is near them. The most chilling reports come from people who claim to have had conversations with a friendly woman at the bar, only to later realize no staff member matching the description works there. Despite its haunted reputation, the Wickham remains one of Brisbane's most popular pubs. But those who work late shifts or stay overnight often say they don't feel entirely alone in the building. Whether it's Rosie still tending bar, or other spirits attached to the hotel's long history, something supernatural definitely calls the Wickham home. The staff have learned to live with their ghostly regulars, some even say they feel protected by them. But visitors experiencing the hauntings for the first time often leave with more than just memories of good drinks. The Wickham Hotel doesn't just serve alcohol, it serves up genuine ghost stories to those who stay long enough to notice. 6. The Treasury Casino, Brisbane CBD. The Treasury Casino in Brisbane CBD might be known today for its glittering chandeliers and high-stakes gambling, but this grand heritage building hides ghostly secrets behind its polished facade. Built in the 1880s as government offices, the sandstone building has witnessed more than a century of Brisbane's history, including deaths, scandals and tragedies that seem to have left spiritual imprints. Staff working late at night regularly report unexplained footsteps echoing through empty corridors, particularly on the upper floors where government workers once toiled. Security guards checking surveillance footage have spotted shadowy figures moving through closed areas of the building, only to find no one there when they investigate. The most persistent ghost is said to be a well-dressed gentleman in Victorian-era clothing who appears near the old staircases before vanishing into walls. Many believe he's the spirit of a 19th-century public servant who took his own life in the building after being caught embezzling government funds. The casino's high roller areas seem to attract particularly strange activity. Dealers have reported seeing playing cards move on their own across tables when no one is touching them. Some gamblers claim to have felt an unseen hand on their shoulder while playing, often followed by an icy chill running down their spine. In the exclusive Chairman's Club, staff have heard phantom laughter and the clinking of glasses coming from empty rooms late at night. The women's bathrooms on the second floor are notorious among employees, with many refusing to enter alone after multiple reports of faucets turning on by themselves and the sound of a woman sobbing in locked stalls. Paranormal investigators who have visited the building report that the basement, originally used as storage for government documents, has an especially oppressive atmosphere. Several people have reported feeling short of breath or experiencing sudden headaches when working down there, with some claiming to have seen the apparition of a disheveled man crouching in dark corners. Historical records show a night watchman died in the basement in 1892 after falling down the stairs, and many believe his spirit remains trapped there. Even during busy trading hours, strange occurrences continue. Surveillance cameras have captured slot machines activating with no one nearby, and pit bosses have dealt hands to empty seats at card tables when the casino is nearly deserted. Some staff whisper about lucky ghosts who influence games, like the time a roulette ball reportedly hovered in mid-air for several seconds before landing on the number 0, witnessed by multiple employees. The building's long history as both government offices and a casino seems to have created layers of spiritual energy that manifest in different ways. From the ghostly bureaucrat haunting the upper floors to the playful spirits in the gaming rooms, the Treasury Casino proves that in Brisbane, even our most glamorous buildings can't escape their haunted pasts. Visitors might come for the gambling, but some leave with stories of encounters that no amount of money could buy. 7. The Old Windmill, Wickham Terrace. The Old Windmill on Wickham Terrace stands as Brisbane's oldest surviving building, but this historic landmark holds dark secrets that chill the bones of even the most skeptical visitors. Built by convict labor in 1828, the stone tower served as both a windmill and Brisbane's only execution site, a dual history that seems to have left permanent scars on the site. 12 men were hanged from the windmill's arms between 1841 and 1850, their bodies left swinging as warnings to other convicts. Today, neighbors report hearing phantom creaking noises at night, as if invisible ropes still strain under ghostly weight. Workers maintaining the site have reported tools going missing and then reappearing in strange locations, while others tell of sudden temperature drops that leave visible breath on warm nights. The most commonly reported apparition is a tall, thin figure seen standing on the upper platform where executions took place. Some claim this is the spirit of John MacDonald, the first man hanged there in 1841 for bushranging. The windmill's dark history extends beyond executions. During an 1893 experiment, the building was used for early radio transmissions, and some believe these strange energies opened a supernatural doorway. Visitors report hearing faint, staticky voices whispering from within the thick stone walls, though no sound system exists in the building. Photographers attempting to capture the historic site frequently find strange anomalies in their pictures, misty figures in period clothing standing near the base, orbs of light floating near the upper windows, and in one famous case, what appears to be a noose hanging from the windmill's arm in a photo where none existed when the shot was taken. Local residents living in nearby apartments tell of nights when the windmill's shadow seems to move unnaturally across the park, stretching and twisting in ways that defy physics. Some report waking at exactly 2 a.m. to the sound of heavy boots climbing the internal staircase, though the building remains locked at night. Paranormal investigators who gained rare after-hours access recorded EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, of a man pleading for mercy in old-fashioned English, along with the disturbing sound of a rope tightening. The site's caretakers admit they never work alone after sunset, as many have experienced the overwhelming sensation of being watched from the upper windows, windows that reflect faces peering down even when the building is empty. Despite its sunny daytime appearance as a quaint historic site, the old windmill maintains a grim reputation after dark. The air grows heavy with what feels like suppressed screams, and shadows seem to move with purpose rather than following the light. Whether it's the trapped souls of executed men, residual energy from the site's violent past, or something even older that predates European settlement, the old windmill stands as a reminder that Brisbane's earliest colonial history was written in blood, and some of that history refuses to stay buried. Visitors who linger too long often leave with an unshakable feeling that the windmill isn't just a relic of the past, but an active participant in something beyond our understanding. 8. The Breakfast Creek Hotel. The Breakfast Creek Hotel, with its iconic Queenslander architecture and lively beer garden, is one of Brisbane's most beloved pubs. But beneath its cheerful atmosphere lies a haunted history that has left both staff and patrons with chilling stories. Built in 1889, the hotel has served generations of Brisbane residents, and it seems some past visitors never really left. The most famous ghost is said to be a former barmaid named Sarah, who worked at the hotel in the early 1900s. According to local legend, Sarah died tragically in the building, some say from a broken heart after her lover never returned from war, others whisper it was something more sinister. Her spirit has been seen wandering the upstairs hallways, dressed in period clothing, often near the old staff quarters. Housekeepers report finding rooms inexplicably tidied overnight, with some claiming to have seen a spectral figure making beds in empty rooms. The hotel's historic Spanish Garden Bar is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Staff closing up at night have heard glasses clinking and chairs scraping across the floor when no one is present. Several bartenders have reported seeing a shadowy figure sitting at the end of the bar after hours, only for it to disappear when approached. Some patrons dining in the restaurant have captured strange misty figures in the background of their photos, particularly near the antique grandfather clock that stands in the corner, a clock that sometimes chimes randomly at odd hours, even when not wound. The hotel's oldest section, known as the Queenslander Wing, seems to hold the most energy from the past. Guests staying in these rooms often report waking to the sound of footsteps in the hallway and doors opening by themselves, despite no one being there. Some have felt an unseen presence sit on the edge of their bed during the night, while others have woken to find the distinct impression of someone having lain beside them. Even during busy lunch services, strange occurrences continue. Wait staff have carried meals to tables only to find the customers who ordered them have mysteriously vanished from the crowded dining room. Chefs working in the kitchen have reported ingredients going missing and reappearing in strange places, along with the occasional feeling of invisible hands brushing past them in the walk-in refrigerator. The hotel's long-term employees have learned to accept these supernatural occurrences as part of working in such a historic building, often referring to the spirits as the friendly ghosts of Breakfast Creek. Despite its haunted reputation, or perhaps because of it, the Breakfast Creek Hotel remains one of Brisbane's most popular pubs. The ghosts seem harmless, perhaps even protective of the historic establishment they once knew in life. Visitors might come for the famous steaks and cold beers, but those who stay late might just leave with a ghost story of their own. Whether it's Sarah still tending to her duties or other spirits attached to the building's long history, something supernatural definitely calls the Breakfast Creek Hotel home, and doesn't seem inclined to check out anytime soon. The hotel's ghosts have become part of its charm, blending Brisbane's lively pub culture with its haunted history in a way that keeps patrons coming back for more than just the food and drinks. 9. The Woolston Farmhouse, Wackle. The Woolston Farmhouse in Wackle stands as one of Brisbane's most chilling haunted locations, its crumbling walls hiding a dark past that seems to cling to the property like a bad dream. Built in 1852 as a simple homestead, the building took on a much darker purpose when it became the Woolston Park Mental Asylum's medical superintendent's residence in the late 1800s. The farmhouse witnessed decades of suffering during Queensland's troubled history of mental health treatment, and many believe the anguish of those years never left. Visitors report an immediate sense of unease upon approaching the abandoned building, with some experiencing sudden headaches or nausea that vanish when they leave the property. The most common reports involve hearing disembodied screams coming from empty rooms, particularly near what was once the basement treatment area where controversial therapies were administered. Paranormal investigators have recorded disturbing electronic voice phenomena here, whispers pleading for help and crying out in pain, though no living person was present at the time. Inside the decaying farmhouse, the air grows thick with the scent of old medicine and something more sinister. Many describe it as the metallic tang of blood, though none can be found. Shadow figures have been seen moving through the hallways, their forms flickering in and out of existence near doorways. The upstairs bedrooms, where patients were sometimes kept in isolation, seem to hold particularly dark energy. Visitors brave enough to enter these rooms report feeling invisible hands grabbing at their arms or the sensation of being pushed. Some have captured photographs showing strange faces peering from broken mirrors or windows where no one stood. The farmhouse's most active spirit appears to be a tall male figure dressed in an old-fashioned medical coat, believed by many to be the ghost of a particularly cruel doctor from the asylum's early days. Witnesses describe seeing him standing over them as if examining a patient, his hollow eyes filled with cold clinical detachment before he vanishes into thin air. The property's grounds hold their own horrors. The old oak tree near the back of the house is said to be a hotspot for paranormal activity, with multiple reports of nooses appearing and disappearing from its branches. Local legend tells of at least one patient who took their life there, though official records remain unclear. After sunset, many visitors report hearing the sound of digging coming from the overgrown garden area, as if someone is desperately trying to bury or unearth something important. Dogs brought to the site often refuse to enter certain areas, barking at unseen threats before cowering in fear. Even in daylight, the farmhouse exudes a sense of watchfulness, with many visitors reporting the unsettling feeling that they're being studied from the broken upstairs windows. Despite its crumbling state, the Woolston farmhouse remains structurally sound in ways that defy logic. Doors that should have rotted away decades ago still swing shut with force, windows that appear broken from the outside remain intact when viewed from within. Paranormal researchers suggest the building itself has become a kind of psychic recorder, trapping the pain and suffering of its past within its walls. Whether it's the tormented souls of former patients, the lingering presence of staff who worked there, or something more sinister that grew from decades of human suffering, the Woolston farmhouse stands as one of Brisbane's most authentically haunted locations. Those who visit rarely leave unchanged, many reporting nightmares for weeks afterward featuring a crumbling house and faceless figures in medical garb. The farmhouse serves as a physical reminder of Queensland's uncomfortable psychiatric history, and the disturbing possibility that some memories are too powerful to ever truly fade away. 10. The South Brisbane Cemetery, Dutton Park. South Brisbane Cemetery in Dutton Park is one of Brisbane's most haunted sites, where the veil between the living and dead feels unnervingly thin. Established in 1870, this historic graveyard holds over 120,000 burials, including mass graves from Brisbane's cholera epidemics, war veterans, and tragic figures from the city's past. Visitors often report an immediate sense of being watched upon entering, with many experiencing sudden chills or the sensation of unseen fingers brushing against their skin. The cemetery's most famous ghost is the White Lady, a spectral figure seen hovering near the graves of children. Witnesses describe her as a pale woman in Victorian mourning dress who appears briefly before vanishing into thin air, often leaving behind the faint scent of roses in the still air. Many believe she's the spirit of a grieving mother who lost multiple children to disease and continues her vigil over the little ones buried there. After sunset, the cemetery takes on an entirely different energy. Security guards patrolling the grounds report hearing whispered conversations coming from empty sections, with some capturing unexplained voices on their radios. Shadow figures have been seen moving between headstones, their forms darker than the surrounding night and seemingly unaffected by flashlight beams. The children's section is particularly active, with reports of disembodied laughter and the sound of small running feet when no living children are present. Visitors have reported seeing tiny handprints appearing on car windows parked near this area, despite no physical explanation. Paranormal investigators have recorded dozens of electronic voice phenomena here, including clear responses to questions and the heartbreaking sound of a child whispering, "Help me," from empty spaces. The cemetery's oldest section, where many of Brisbane's early settlers are buried, seems to hold particularly strong residual energy. People walking through this area often report sudden overwhelming emotions, sadness, anger, or fear, that vanish when they move away from certain graves. Some have photographed strange light anomalies hovering above particular tombstones, especially near the grave of notorious criminal Ernest Austin, whose execution in 1913 marked Queensland's last hanging. Others report seeing full-bodied apparitions of soldiers in World War I uniforms standing silently near the war memorials, their ghostly faces filled with sorrow. The air in certain spots grows unnaturally cold even on warm nights, and many visitors describe feeling an invisible presence walking beside them along the paths. Even the cemetery's perimeter holds disturbing activity. Residents in nearby apartments report seeing figures standing at their windows at night, only to realize the cemetery side walls have no ledges or footholds where a person could stand. Drivers passing the cemetery late at night sometimes report seeing a lone figure standing at the gates who disappears as they approach. The most chilling accounts come from those who've accidentally stayed past closing time. Nearly all report hearing their name called from among the graves, or seeing shadowy figures that seem to follow them no matter how fast they move toward the exit. South Brisbane Cemetery serves as a stark reminder that in some places, the dead don't rest quietly. Whether it's residual energy from tragic deaths or conscious spirits clinging to familiar ground, the cemetery remains one of Brisbane's most active paranormal locations, where visitors may leave with more than they bargained for, including unseen followers who don't stay within the cemetery's boundaries.